Hey guys, I'm Rachel Castile and welcome to Typology Corner. Today I'm starting a new series called Enneagram Basics. I'm super excited to jump into this. This is a big part of my vision for this channel is really to explore the Enneagram coaching. There's so much value in understanding the Enneagram system and seeing yourself within it. It's incredible for spiritual growth, personal growth, just really waking up to your value apart from your doing or your own strivings. The core of the Enneagram really is about resting apart from your habitual coping mechanisms and strategies that originated in childhood, and really to come to a place of knowing your value, knowing that you're safe, knowing just knowing who you are apart from all of this, so that you can begin to make new decisions and to live your fullest life, to really live, and to wake up is a big theme throughout the Enneagram, about waking up from the self that you created to survive and resting into who you really are as a divine being. So yeah, the Enneagram has a lot of sort of a spiritual aspect about it, of acknowledging that we are spirit beings, and then we have patterns that keep us from really living to the fullest, and that kind of become our personality, that becomes what we over identify with. And so the Enneagram, as you find yourself in it, it becomes a transformational tool. It becomes something that, in this self-awareness, that just opens a world of possibilities for you to begin to think differently, to kind of slow down and make new decisions, and kind of get out of those patterns that life taught you. So yeah, I'm going to explore the Enneagram with y'all today as just an intro of what it is, how to approach the Enneagram, um, just like some history on it a bit. And I want to highlight self-awareness. It's a big part of how to get value out of the Enneagram. Is becoming self-aware is really step one. So what is the Enneagram? I've taken notes on some of my thoughts, and also I've grabbed some quotes out of 4 amazing books that I'm also going to share with you along the way throughout the video today. First book I want to highlight is The Enneagram Guide to Waking Up by Beatrice Chestnut and Uranio Pais. Very, very good book. Her previous book, Beatrice, bigger book, I'll call it, the Complete Enneagram by Beatrice Chestnut. Very awesome book as well. This one's a bit more concise and just amazing. They're both very good. But then also The Enneagram, A Christian Perspective by Richard Rohr and Andres Ebert. Don't think I'm pronouncing his name right. And then, this is very good. Really, really good. Also, this one. These books I haven't finished. Like, they're just amazing resources you can kind of jump into. But The Wisdom of the Enneagram, The Complete Guide to Psychological and Spiritual Growth for the 9 Personality Types by Don Richard Rizzo and Russ Hudson. So yeah, what is the Enneagram? The Enneagram is a read of 9 different personality styles of seeing and approaching the world. These styles originate in childhood and cloak who we were created to be. We have become familiar with going through life using specific strategies to protect ourselves and get our needs met. The Enneagram highlights a growth path for each of the 9 types and shows what health and unhealth looks like for each of the types. We all have different motivations, different fears, different longings, different desires, different weaknesses, strengths. So growth for each type needs to be approached differently. That's really the core idea and value of understanding the Enneagram and really seeing what growth looks like for you specifically. Um, so yeah, I'm gonna share a quote from forget which of the two books from Beatrice, but Beatrice Chestnut says the Enneagram is a complex and meaningful system that relates to many different systems of knowledge, including psychology, cosmology, and mathematics. It forms the basis of a highly accurate typology that describes 9 distinct personality types and serves as a sense making framework for understanding the human ego and mapping out a process of growth. As a psychological and spiritual model that lays out specific paths of self development, it helps us wake up to ourselves by revealing the habitual patterns and blind spots that limit our growth and transformation. So, yeah, it's a good overall definition of it. Now I'm going to get into some of the origins. The origins of the Enneagram is just intrinsically spiritual, moral. It's looking at a journey from kind of darkness to light, being caught in vices and then moving into the opposite virtue is kind of the idea connected to all of the 9 types, them all having an individual struggle. But also in health, they really have the potential to exhibit that virtue, like amazingly so. And really, walking in virtues is to walk in all of the virtues, not just one. But each type is kind of defined by the one that they struggle with the most. So their highest growth would be to really kind of unlock from that core issue sort of perspective. Here in a bit, I'm going to read off from this book. It covers the vices to virtues and divides all of the types kind of as a path from vice over to virtue as a core aspect of each type. So, a quote from Richard Rohr: "The Enneagram can be traced back to the Christian desert monk Evagrius Ponticus, D 399, and the Franciscan blessed Raman Lul, and his dates is 1236 through 1315. So pretty old. There's a lot of people connected to the Enneagram throughout generations. Lots of different cultures, groups have really added to what it is. And seeing these kind of tracking these human traits, the psychology of humanity. But it's a very ancient study that has like manifested in culture, in our culture, probably in the last 20, 30, 40, 50 years. Yeah, where it's become popular in a global sense, or in our Western world, I guess. But yeah, so the Enneagram acknowledges that we are at our core spiritual beings with the potential of embodying great virtues and the propensity towards particular vices. It could be described as 9 paths from darkness to light. We are waking up from particular habitual patterns that keep us from living as our highest self. So yeah, looking in this book, just to give you a brief overview of the 9 types. Type 1 is the path from anger to serenity. Type 2, the path from pride to humility. Type 3, the path from self-deceit to veracity. Type 4, the path from envy to equanimity. Type 5, the path from avarice to non-attachment. Type 6, the path from fear to courage. Type 7, the path from gluttony to sobriety. Type 8, the path from lust to innocence. And type 9, the path from sloth to right action. So yeah, I'll cover these things later on in this series in depth. But yeah, that's a starting idea for the types. Here's another quote from Don Rizzo and Russ Hudson's book, The Wisdom of the Enneagram. The heart of the Enneagram is the universal insight that human beings are spiritual presences incarnated in the material world and yet mysteriously embodying the same life and spirit as the Creator. Beneath surface differences and appearances, behind the veils of illusion, the light of divinity shines in every individual. Various forces obscure that light, however, and each spiritual tradition has myths and doctrines to explain how mankind has lost its connection with the divine. The Enneagram isn't specific to any faith or group. The Enneagram is seeing something that how we can see that the sky is blue, that the grass is green. It's an incredible read of reality of the human soul. And lots of people have found value in seeing this because it's so real. It tells a real truth for those that do want to see themselves and with that knowledge grow and change, evolve. So yeah, what is the purpose of the Enneagram? The purpose of the Enneagram is to help you discern where you are on your journey and help you to make course corrections when needed. It's about seeing yourself clearly and learning to observe yourself objectively without condemnation or judgment. It's a big part about it. Is to detach enough to observe. Part of the self-awareness that I'm going to continue to explore. In seeing and recognizing your unconscious patterns, this gives you the opportunity to consciously make new decisions. A quote from Beatrice: "These personality types are based on a very simple thing, where we focus our attention on as we move through the world. But what we see also defines what we don't see, as well as the fact that we don't see it. These are our blind spots. When we remain unaware of these key aspects of our experience, we stay blind to the impact they have on how we think, feel, and act. And this explains why we can be said to be asleep, going through life like zombies." Yeah. A quote from Don Rizzo and Russ Hudson's book. The Enneagram takes us places and makes real progress possible because it starts working from where we actually are. As much as it reveals the spiritual heights that we are capable of attaining, it also sheds light clearly and non-judgmentally on the aspects of our lives that are dark and unfree. If we are going to live as spiritual beings in the material world, then these are the areas we most need to explore. So what does transformation look like? Where does it start? How do you enter into transformation or getting value out of a tool like the Enneagram? It all starts with self-awareness and being willing to see the parts of yourself you don't want to see and don't want to deal with. The Enneagram can be startling if you've been living on autopilot. Very much so. I have to sneeze. Yes, it can be startling. It can actually take time to be honest with yourself enough to really see your type. Some people, when they see their type, they kind of like are emotional for weeks, or it's a lot to process. Or just seeing how these patterns as well are not only you as well, but how defining and how real it is. It's a lens. It's literally the lens you're looking through, and then to hear that lens described and spoken, and it can be a lot. It took me years to discover my real type. The types are kind of interconnected. Whenever you look at the shape here, each of these points is a number, essentially, like 9 up here at the top, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 back up to 9. And those lines, they're connected to other types. So, yeah, a type is connected to 2 other types. And in stress, you can exhibit traits of another type. So there's this interconnectedness in the different types can also, it can take time to discover what's the core thing you're really dealing with. But yeah, the types have a core fear, a core motivation, a core longing, a core desire, core weakness. And that's where you really find your type. But so yeah, the Enneagram is just a tool. You have to want to see in order to see. It will only be a useful resource for those who desire to grow more than they want to be comfortable. Yeah, this path is not comfortable. Yeah, but it's incredible. It's incredible. It's amazing to see that it's charted for you. Yeah. A quote from Richard Rohr: self-knowledge is tied in with inner work, which is both demanding and painful. Change occurs amid birth pangs. It takes courage to walk such a path. Another quote by him: as a mirror of the soul, the Enneagram remains a tool that can be laid aside at any time. The Enneagram is not the answer, but one signpost among many. Signposts show the way, but we have to take the way ourselves. The Enneagram is only a cognitive model, though an amazingly comprehensive one. So how do we become self-aware? I'm just going to share a few practical things that has helped me become more self-aware. Learn how to observe your thoughts and feelings apart from acting on them, apart from judging them or identifying with them. Observe them, let them go by, feel them, and ask yourself why. Where did that come from? Also, journaling can be very helpful, just to start journaling your thoughts out, journaling your feelings out, and kind of exploring what they could be connected to, and just get used to observing your states instead of being controlled by the states that you're in. And you can start to be aware and start to have this inner space to kind of dialogue around your inner world. Yeah, and you become more aware and you can start to identify what type you are, but also the purpose of type is self-awareness, self-knowledge. Again, the Enneagram is a tool to help you do that. Also, cultivate stillness in your life. The more still you are, the more you're in a listening state, the more you're not being driven by something. You can observe what's trying to drive you in the stillness. So yeah, stillness, journaling has been incredible for me to begin to hear truth in my life, to hear the real story of what's going on inside of me, and to make new decisions, to see the way out of places I found myself stuck in life. So what is the risk of living on autopilot and not doing this, of just letting life just happen to you, letting your instincts, your feelings, your thoughts dictate what you do? We run the risk of missing our reason for being on earth. We run the risk of missing true joy in our life and experiencing life as it's meant to be felt. And us allowing these habitual patterns to just dictate everything we see. We run the risk of only seeing what it can show us. And yeah, with hardened hearts, we don't feel pain, but we also don't feel peace or joy. It's worth taking the journey to wake up and see all that we can about ourselves. My next video is going to be about waking up. So I'm really going to explore this a lot more. It is really the core aspect of the Enneagram, is waking up from the pattern to be our true self. Just know you're worth it. You're worth taking this journey to discover more quality of life, to come back to that place as a child before needing to survive, needing to figure it out yourself. Yeah, reclaim that quality of life by taking this journey of embarking on the Enneagram, embarking on being self-aware, on waking up, understanding yourself, the journey of self-knowledge. So yeah, a last word, don't settle. Don't settle. Yeah, it's worth it. You're worth not settling on. A quote from Beatrice Chestnut, and this is more of a setup for my next video about waking up. In psychological terms, this dimming of consciousness expresses the fact that as a basic survival mechanism, the human psyche automatically goes to sleep to, or disassociates from painful experiences as a way of surviving or staying safe in the world. While it may be good for our survival and our comfort to avoid an awareness of our own pain and fear, especially early on in life, if we don't examine the way we do this as we get older, we fall asleep to who we are and all that we're meant to be. I stumbled a bit throughout that, but yeah. It's understandable to suppress and to push things down, to not look at it so that, we can live. But there comes a point, there is incredible value to look at that stuff, to process it, to let it be healed, and to detach from it, to rediscover ourselves apart from it. So yeah, I want to be fully who I'm created to be. I want to live to the fullest. I want to continue to grow and understand myself, and I welcome you to do the same. I'm here to help you on your journey, and yeah, so I'm excited to jump into all of this, and I'm glad to have you here on the channel, and yeah, stay tuned for more. I'll get into, there's so much in the Enneagram that yeah, is very, very awesome and helpful. So all right, guys, stay tuned for the next video, and I will see y'all then. All right, take care.